Thank you all for joining. I like this turnout. And for anyone that's watching this after the fact, thank you for tuning in. My name is Matt Plut. I'm a business development manager at Epic Games. And I'm really excited to be talking with you all today. Just a little bit about myself. I kind of stumbled into a love of indie games back when it was the Wild West with like Flash games and Newgrounds.com. I'm sure some of us can relate here. And I think the exciting thing about like that era was that you saw just rapid iteration, games coming out every week, and a lot of simplicity in how those games were made, but they still had so much personality. And so that kind of brings us to this title, Big Tools for Small Teams. I think one thing that everyone can agree on in indie game development is, where do you put your time? And one place you don't want to put your time is working with backend tools and building these systems that don't necessarily lead to a better game. You want to put your time into building a cool game and spending that time bringing attention to your cool game. And so I'm here to talk about Epic Online Services and how they relate to indies. This is something I feel is a really great thing for any indie studio, really any studio of any kind, to look at, because we've been building it out of our own best practices. So we're going to touch on some themes that are going to go back to this idea of flexibility and simplicity throughout this presentation. And I'm just excited to show you a little bit about what we got. So first and foremost, it's not like Epic Online Services is a brand new theme that Epic is doing. We've been building cool technology for decades and trying to make it available to developers as much as we can. Obviously, Unreal Engine is the best example of that, and all the tools that went along with it. But even since then, we've had the Epic Game Store, we've had some acquisitions around Easy Anti-Cheat and Rad Game Tools, and we continue to make these available to all the developers we can, because we really do believe in giving our work and the work we put into it to whoever finds value in using it. And so Epic Online Services is really just the latest iteration of this. It's our attempt at doing this with backend tooling. So let's get a little bit into what is Epic Online Services at a high level. These are all born out of Fortnite, and they're services that we have worked hard on to run at scale and have flexibility with different platforms. We want to make that accessible to everybody. And more than that, for those of you that want to participate in our ecosystem, we want EOS to be a system that connects your players together. You're going to hear me use the term EOS. It's just Epic Online Services is a mouthful, so there's no confusion. And then a very important aspect about EOS, it's free. And it's a la carte. You only need to use what you want, and it's free at a base level. You can try it, experience what it's like, and decide if it's the right tool for your game. So growing on that, another very important aspect about EOS is it's engine agnostic. Like, obviously, we love everyone that's using Unreal. That's cool. We love Unreal developers. But for any of you that are using Unity, Godot, GameMaker, a custom engine, EOS is meant to be used across all game engines. We really stand by that. That's actually a cornerstone of EOS, is it's here to be available to every developer, no matter how you choose to build your game. We have an official plugin for Unity for EOS, and through our third-party plugins available on the marketplace, you can also find plugins for things like Godot and other game engines that you may want to use. Also, going into this idea of flexibility, we provide a tool called the Online Subsystem. We don't have to go into a ton of details on what that is right now, but it is something that we use to make platform integration very easy for EOS, so that as you're working across the platforms you want to launch on, you're able to get right in there and have an easy time integrating with those platforms. So breaking this down a little bit further, EOS categories isn't a great term, but there's kind of two categories of it today, between the game services and then the Epic account services. Where these are similar is that they are all cross-platform. They're all a la carte, and you're able to use them however you want to. So you can grab portions of either side of this, use them in conjunction with each other, and you don't have to use any more of this than you want to. Going a little bit further now, let's talk about the game services first. these are going to be identity agnostic services that you can just grab and use. The game services, everything you see here on this chart is going to be able to integrate with all major identity providers. So, everyone that you're used to seeing, like Apple, Google, as well as if you have a custom solution there, we do integrate with OpenID as well. And it's meant to be a way to be flexible across all of these platforms and to also integrate cross-platform features to your games however you see fit. We, again, this is all a la carte. You don't have to grab everything in here. Rather, you can just grab what are the portions that you think are best for your game. And these are all tested for scale. So you can be confident that no matter how big your game gets, these are going to be tools that will scale to whatever capacity you need to for your game. We also want to make sure that, again, you don't feel like you're locked into these solutions. And so you're not signing a contract to get here. You're not making a commitment or anything. It's just a matter of integrating these services, using them how you want to, and having the flexibility to choose how you proceed long-term. Another important part about game services, because they are identity agnostic, they're also very transparent to your consumers and your end users. So when if a user is in your game and you are using sessions and lobbies as an example, that could be running anywhere to them. It's not like this is a branded solution or anything like that. The game services are meant to be very compatible with your game, and so that it's all running on the back end. And that goes for the data too. Epic will be hosting the data on your behalf, but the data is yours. And then that's the end of it. We don't want to, besides basic telemetry that we are capturing to make sure that the services are up and running, the data that goes into the players is all meant to be for you. So the other half of this is Epic account services. And the way this differs a little bit from the game services is this is where you integrate the Epic ecosystem into your game. Epic is the identity provider here and is providing the features through our account services to you. So that would be like our friends list, our cross-platform invites, that kind of thing. We do make it very easy to integrate this with any different platform provider. So if you're on Xbox or PlayStation or anything like that, we integrate it in a way so that a user can come in, create or connect an existing Epic Games account, and they'll be off and running from there. And we also bring in features like our social overlay tool so that if your game wants to have the Epic overlay from our store or our games in there, you can integrate that as well to continue to connect players using the tooling we've already built. We have a few examples of this too. So some of you might be familiar with this games. This is Speed Brawl. And so you can see that the social overlay has been integrated here. You can see that that the developer has chosen to integrate this through Epic Games Friends and a separate tab for Steam Friends. But that's an important part about the UI is we give you the control to put this into your game the way you want to, so that as your players interact with our different services, you're able to build a UI around our social overlay that fits within your game. This is a very important part because we want a consistent experience no matter what platform you're on. But we also want to make sure that the overlay is put in a way that is a benefit to your game and your players when it comes to connecting them to their friends. Here's another example. Midnight Ghost Hunt is a great partner of ours, and they've integrated the social overlay. Where you can see this differs is that they have a more consolidated friends list. And as you can see on the screen here, you can see who are users that are on Steam, and then who are your Epic Game users. So if you want to have that more consistent experience where it's just, hey, here are all my friends, I just want to see them all, we do provide abilities to do that. And this is an example from Remnant 2. Again, you can see that the social overlay has been implemented, but this is on PlayStation. So again, we want to make sure that the experience is consistent for familiarity across consoles, PCs, mobile, so on and so forth. We really do want to make sure that it's not a different expectation depending on which platform you're launching your game. It will feel the same no matter where you are. And this is actually what's coming next. We're going to be releasing a new social overlay here in the next few months. The goal with this is that we're really looking to provide an even better experience with the tools that we have. We, as you can see here, we're integrating the ability to do voice and chat right off the bat, so you can see it on the overlay. We can you can pull it up on your mobile phone. It's a little bit more consistent. Basically, we want to provide you with a more lightweight version of this overlay that also connects you readily to more features around the around what the account services offer. And so when we talk about crossplay, this is where we start getting back into this idea of participating in the Epic Games ecosystem. Obviously, the account services side will allow you to connect players across all platforms. So for those of you that are building games where crossplay is a really important feature, we're going to be able to give that to you natively. But in turn, we also want to make sure that you're able to leverage this ecosystem that we've been building through Epic Games around friends who can see what their friends are playing, no matter what platform they're on. We want to make sure that you can log into a game from anywhere and provide you with the tools necessary to be able to access your game on any kind of platform. And we really want to make sure that we're providing you with free multiplayer services that go across all of the providers and are robust and battle tested. I think this is one of the biggest things about when I think about indie development, especially multiplayer games and backend services, is that reliability that that on launch day these services are going to deliver. And because we test these services with our own game, Fortnite, we can give you the confidence around the fact that these are services that have been built from their core to scale to a significant level. And that is all around making sure that your game doesn't have negative performance or anything associated with it on a launch day or at any point because the system isn't running. We want to make sure that EOS stays robust for you just for that very reason. So this is a nice summary page. Again, I think this emphasizes that we have a lot. It's a la carte. We can go across a whole bunch of different things. Obviously on the account services side, we have the crossplay dynamic that I've talked about. But even on the game services side, I do want to call out that we have very robust systems around sessions and lobbies, our peer-to-peer, our voice chat, our easy anti-cheat. And these are all things that you will be able to just test out and see how they perform in your game with very little lift on your side. This also complements our other services. So I'm sure everyone in here is familiar with the Epic Games Store. This layers on top of that. So if you are launching there, obviously we have a nice synergy with our game store. And then for those of you that might be assessing a need to have parental controls or the ability to monitor the age of your users or anything like that, we also do provide another free service called Kids Web Services that is meant just for that. You can see examples of it out in the world today, but we do use this to make sure that games where there might need to be like an age gate or something like that, we're giving you tools to do just that, so that you can be in compliance however you see fit. And I think this is another really important aspect about EOS, and it goes back to this idea of flexibility. We want you to use EOS as something that you find value in and that's useful to you, but not because we want to win, the back end war or anything with what else you're looking at. A very key part about EOS is that we want you to complement whatever features you might be using today with it. So there's a whole bunch of solutions out there, and I'm sure some of you have the capabilities to build some of these features yourselves and run them all over the place. And that's great. We want you to continue to do that. We don't want to displace anything that you don't think is a good fit from EOS. We just want to make sure that we're offering you as developers tool that you can round your game out with. We have blog posts out around how we work with groups like EdgeGap, PubNub. And there's a whole bunch of other services and providers that we're working on getting documentation out with. And we really do believe in building together in this regard. We're working very hard on getting more stories around how different developers have used multiple services alongside EOS to find success. And we like to think of EOS as being a really cool option, as being like the beating core of your backend that can plug into whatever else you use. And so it goes back to this idea of flexibility, where we just don't want EOS to be blocking you because you've chosen one technology direction or you're using a certain game engine or anything like that. We want it to be something that is a net addition to how you're operating your game and can work with however you want to build your game. So if we're talking about just how to get started here, it's really simple. We always say get an Epic Games account because that'll give you access to the developer portal. So if you have questions around how to integrate certain services or questions around technical limitations or anything like that, you're able to go in there and work to get those answers. And then Epic Online Services is an SDK. It comes in C and C Sharp, and it works across, as I've said many times, a bunch of different platforms. And we want to make sure that you're able to integrate it simply, which is why we've done an SDK. We do have some web APIs for certain services as well. But all of this comes back to the SDK and integrating into your game and just using the services as you see fit on the platforms you see fit. And we have a few examples here of just some game studios that have found success with EOS. First up, we have Loftia, who's built an MMORPG. A really important thing to call out here is they're using EOS, but they're using it alongside Hathora for game servers. Along those game servers, EOS is providing tools around doing cross-platform authentication, session management, so on and so forth. And I think that's a really good story around how you can see a developer taking something third-party and pairing it with EOS. Next up, we have Greenhawk Platoon. They're going to be releasing this game cross-platform here in not very long. And again, they're using EOS for just that reason, to create a very easy cross-play and cross-platform experience with all of their services so that players aren't going to have to worry around where their friends are. They're going to be able to pick up the game and play with them no matter whether they're on Steam or PlayStation or anything like that. And Out of Time from Manticore Games, I will say this is a little bit of a different example because Manticore does have good funding that you can read about. But I think what's interesting here is that when it comes to studios that do have funding, they can really get whatever kind of solution they want or build whatever solution they want to. And EOS has still remained core to their strategy because of the robustness of the services and the solutions. I think that's worth calling out here because, the dream of a lot of indie games is to have that hit success that quickly gets popularity. And we see that happen every year. There's always, games that break out and have way more success than they anticipated. And that's a very key thing that we want to be ready for with EOS, is that as those games scale up, you're not worrying about, is this going to break my backend and take the game down, or we're going to lose that momentum. We have examples of developers of all sizes that are picking EOS for that very reason. And I think that is another compelling aspect to pair alongside with the fact that it's a free service that you can use. So just to summarize all of this, why should you consider EOS as an indie developer? And this is where I'm going to touch on flexibility and simplicity again. We really want you to feel like this is a tool that you can use no matter what, and certainly just at least consider. No one likes having to go to each and every platform and build integrations just to build a game that's going to launch on cross-platform, let alone have cross-play or anything like that. And we want you to feel like you can just integrate the platforms you want to be on once and be done with it, and have and feel good that those solutions are going to be reliable throughout. We don't want you to feel like your data is going into a place you don't want it to. We want you to stay in control of that. And we really want you to be able to feel like you're participating in what Epic is doing, And so whether you're doing this through game services or account services, it doesn't matter to us. We just want to make sure that you found something useful and that you feel like this is overall a net multiplier to whatever else you're using or whatever your game strategy may be. So for that reason, we've made it really easy to integrate it, to POC it, and for you to decide if this is the right solution or set of solutions for your game. So intentionally, this was a quicker presentation. I know everyone's been here for a long time today. Please get in touch. I genuinely mean that. My email's on there. That's directly to me. My LinkedIn's on there. If you want to tell me about that you've used EOS and you love it, great. I'd love to hear that story. And similarly, if you have used EOS and you have other kinds of feedback for me, I want to hear that too. And if there's anyone that's considering using it but doesn't know what they might want to use within it or how it might pair to your game, let's get on a phone call. Let's sit down and let's just chat about let's do a technical mapping. I'd really love to know about the functions of your game, where EOS may have a fit, and if there isn't a fit, where we might be able to supplement something for you. So please, I have my contact information up there for a reason. I want you to be in touch. Don't hesitate to reach out. Any question is a good question. And on that note, we'll do a Q&A here. I will say, if there's any technical questions, I'll do my best. But please feel free to send anything like that to my email as well, where I might be able to give a little more detailed of an answer. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer whatever I can today.
Question. So there is an old game project. It's like a racing game, single player. And I'm thinking, could I use EOS to just have a worldwide leaderboard?
Yeah.
And do people need an Epic Games account to use that function?
So no. So on the leaderboards are on the game services side. So there's no need to have an Epic account on the game services side. So leaderboards is on that side. So are lobby sessions, things like that. But it's a game service, and game services do not require that. Epic's hosting them, obviously, but they're not attached to the account system. And so you'd be able to integrate that to your game. And because it is able to be integrated with the various platforms, you are able to create a cross-platform leaderboard, as an example. And so we've had developers discuss this in a manner of I want to build a game that's available on mobile and make sure that Android and Apple users are all on there, and we can do that.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the crossplay. I'm familiar with online subsystem, but I just wonder, for example, if I'm playing on Android, I play on phone, I play on PC, do they all have to have the same Epic? They have to have the Epic account in order to play, or? And also another question is can I invite people with Epic and Steam account people to join the same lobby?
Yeah, so to your first question, for the native crossplay feature where you can deploy it and get running on it, that would require Epic account systems to use. That's because that's where our friends lists are. That's where we've built that functionality natively. It's not to say you couldn't do it on game services. You probably would just have to create some systems around that as well, so it's not out of the box in that sense. To your point around sessions and lobbies, those can be integrated cross-platform. So at least for that point, you would have to find a way to identify users there. But on the game services side, we use something called a PUID. I'm forgetting the acronym off the top of my head, but basically it's an identifier for a player that lives in the game services side, and it's assigned at a product level. So as long as the game has a way to kind of create a visibility for players regardless of their platform, they would then be able to go and join a game lobby or a session or anything like that.
And so, hi. So in my experience running multiplayer servers, and the most expensive aspect is bandwidth or outgoing bytes egress.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you had mentioned free multiplayer. So I wonder how is that achieved, or is there an aspect that's free versus not free?
Yeah. So dedicated servers in that manner are not provided today. So like for dedicated servers and that kind of thing, that's not like that's not something we have in the set of services. We have peer-to-peer. In that point, it's going to be a player hosting it, in that someone's the host player. And so in that sense, the bandwidth is not being handled by us. That would be a question where if like you're integrating a multiplayer provider, so like a Hathora or an EdgeGap, that would be a discussion more on that side of the house.
I see. So it's kind of it's a peer establishment that's peer to peer from that point on.
Yeah, we're building more service and things like that. So I don't want to say what is or isn't coming, but right now peer to peer is how we would connect players, and sessions and lobbies is how we're going about matching players together and creating the ability to play together in that sense.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Seriously, I'm so happy you came out.